Good morning to you. You. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning. Won't you share with a friend or two? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. You. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. You. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you and many more and many more and many more. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Just having a little fun. Just having a little fun this morning with the good morning song. I hope you all are having a great and wonderful day. It is Daring Dialogues, and I'm your host today, Shantae Charles. It is Wednesday. It is Relationship Wednesday. And as we get into the work today on ourselves and on managing our family relationships and setting boundaries, finding peace, and a guide to reclaiming yourself, I just wanted to share a couple of things that I hope um, will be empowering for you. I know as I share my personal experiences, most people know I typically like to share my experiences so that nobody is doing a show on me sharing their experiences. Sometimes people get really touchy about other people making commentary around them. So that is primarily one of the reasons why I tend to focus on my own story, right? Nobody can tell your story better than you can. And so I woke up this morning with some thoughts as I like to sit in quiet in the beginning of my morning and do some reflection and let my thoughts come up. Whatever thoughts those are, I like to um, allow them to come up, allow myself to examine what I'm thinking for the day, and then keep the thoughts, right, that are powerful, that are positive, that are empowering, and discard the thoughts that don't help me, that don't move me forward. I think that's a good practice for everyone. You know, if you find yourself on the negative side of speaking, go back and look at how you are thinking. Actually take the time to examine what you are saying and what you are thinking. What are you thinking about yourself? What are you putting into the world and into your thought process about your own self? Sometimes it's not other people. Sometimes it's our thoughts about ourselves that begin to overtake and run our lives. And sometimes we're projecting onto other people what we actually think about ourselves. So um, as I said, I like to get into the habit of getting up in the morning, taking some time to just allow myself to think and then to examine those thoughts. One of the thoughts that came up today was the nature of cruelty. And good morning to those of you who are coming in. The nature of cruelty and our, I would say, our propensity, right, to want to get people back when they say something that we don't like, or to want to get people back when they insult us, or they say something unkind, or they do something unkind. Most of us, of course, would call it the clapback. And the thought that came up to me this morning was, is the clapback going to make you a better person? Is the clapback going to make you go outside of yourself? Is the clapback worth you becoming the thing that you despise in other people? Is the clapback going to make you a cruel person? Is it going to bring out the nature of cruelty in you? And if so, are you okay with that cruelty? And I thought to myself, and I said, you know what? I don't want to become the thing that I despise. Good morning. I don't want to become the thing that I despise. Um, I don't want cruelty to be my identifier in the world. Some people start wondering why they're maybe losing support around some things, or they're not having as many people engage with them. And sometimes it's because you've turned into something that you were never supposed to turn into. Sometimes you've turned into the cruelty that you were trying to combat. And we have to look at that. We have to examine that. The other thing I want to share is I want to share really quickly about the power of your voice. I said in my affirmation this morning that I value my voice. And though my voice may shake sometimes when I speak, um, I still am aware that my voice has the power to shake some things up, to shake some things out, to shake some things free. And I value that. I don't take it for granted. And yesterday I got a reminder about the power of my voice. Most of you who've been following my platform know that I am a writer, among other things. I'm a published author 5 times. I'm an award winning, best selling editor. And I take pride in that because when I edit works, they do make it to bestseller lists. I often say the editing part of a book is the most important part, the framework of the book. And so I'm proud of that. And I do write, but I have not written in blog form for a while. I have blogs. I have about 4 or 5 blogs that are up that I, wrote profusely on. Those blogs are still up on blogspot.com from when I was writing, at least over a decade now. Those blogs are still up. People are still reading them. People are still, coming by and commenting on them. But I have not really felt compelled to start a new blog until recently. And yesterday, when I woke up, I was thinking about, there are so many voices out here. The platforms, when it comes to blogging and podcasts, are so saturated. Um, and so I was thinking to myself, do I really want to start another blog? Do people want to hear what I'm saying in writing? I do write, I do summarize mainly on Black Table Talk. But when it comes to like in-depth writing, I've been doing a lot of that when it comes to my sermon prepping. And then I've been doing a lot of that when it comes to journaling. But those have been mainly personal thoughts, personal notes for myself. I haven't been like openly sharing them. And so as I was thinking that, I got one of those divine winks again. My divine winks, the creator sometimes speaks to me through license plates. And so yesterday I was tending to the needs of my elder, got out of my car. Soon as I parked, I looked up and I was heading toward the door. And I looked over at the car next to me, and the license tag said, "Be you." And I said, "Yeah, I often say that all the time. Be you." Okay. Okay. So I was rolling with that and just letting it roll around in my thoughts for the day. And then I got home and I opened up my email because usually when I'm tending to my elder who is in recovery, I'm usually not looking at the phone because I need to be paying attention to her. And then when I'm on the road, I'm definitely not looking at the phone and trying to answer emails while driving. I know people do that. But yeah, I like to focus completely on my driving. Most of the time, I don't even drive with music on because I just like to have complete focus. And so I get home and I open up my email and I start checking my emails. And I realized that I had gotten an email from that morning. And I was like, huh, I don't know this person. I've never seen this name come across my emails. And it looked like it was from Substack. And if you're familiar with Substack, um, you know that Substack it's a podcasting, video, audio, newsletter site, right? So I get this email and I'm like, who's emailing me from Substack? I don't have a official Substack. I went on there, I joined so that I could read all of these brilliant, wonderful people, people well known in news and journalism and all of those things. And so I've been on there probably maybe for about a year, just reading and enjoying the other scholars, the brilliant people who are on there. And so I see this email and I click on the email and it says, um, one of your readers believes your writing is worth paying for. They've pledged a subscription, which will be activated if you decide to turn on this for publication. Learn more about pledges. And then the message says, you bring truth, wisdom, and insight, and I'd love to continue to learn more from you. I can't even tell you what that message did for me in the moment in which I was thinking to myself, does anybody really want to hear another voice? I mean, come on, let's be real here. There are hundreds of voices out here, very popular people. But does anybody want to read what I'm writing? I know I want to read what I'm writing. I enjoy what I write. But for the larger public, because it takes a lot to run a blog, it takes a lot to be consistent, in writing for publication and putting things out in the world. And this was like my second God wink for the day to say, yes, somebody does want to read what you're writing. They want to hear what you have to say. And I'm going to put a human being out here in the world to confirm that for you. And it's going to be someone you don't even know. That's the part that got me. Like, I had not started a blog on Substack. This person doesn't know me at all. They don't know that I'm a writer. They don't know that I've written other blogs. They don't know any of this. But their words came at a necessary time and good morning to those of you coming in, for me to have some very confirmed clarity to keep going. And I think that's very powerful. And so after my second wink for the day, I went ahead and I started a Substack. So if you want to go and follow that, if you're on Substack, the Substack is blacktabletalk.substack.com. And you can sign up as a free subscriber. But I also thought it was powerful that this person who doesn't know me decided to sign up for a monthly pledge. Um, and that was really encouraging for me because, again, when someone subscribes, I don't care whether it's free or paid, they don't have to give you their attention. I think a lot of people get that twisted. No one has to give you their attention. No one has to give you their time. And so the time that we all are on here together, I don't take it for granted. I don't take it lightly. The time that someone takes to read my posts or to look at an image or to get in my comment section and converse with me, I don't take that for granted. because I know people could be doing a million other things. And especially people who take their hard earned money and say, I want to invest in this because I believe in you, or I want to invest in this because I feel like you have something to say or something to contribute. I don't take that for granted. I know some people feel entitled to other people's time and attention and money, and they just think, oh, you're just supposed to give it to them. No, they're not. People don't have to invest in you. They don't have to give their time or give their money or give their efforts to you. They don't. And so I don't take that for granted. And seeing that yesterday was, I would say, really encouraging to me as a writer. Um, and getting back into the blog space, writing on a consistent basis is going to be, I think it's going to be a good thing for me. I have one more novel that I'm working on to complete. Um, it's been a stop and start process, but I know I need to finish it. Um, but as far as blogging, I appreciate what this person shared. And I want to say, and I want to encourage those of you who might be thinking what I was thinking. Does my voice even matter in this arena? Does anybody care what I'm thinking? Does anybody care, about my thoughts or what I'm sharing or what I'm saying? It goes back to what I said a couple of months back with my internet. I call him my internet brother. Paul Carrick Brunson said. He said when he first started his YouTube channel, there were only, for a long time, he said there were only 3 people watching his videos. Now, Paul is now traveling all over the world. He does television, he does his own YouTube interview show. He's been a producer and even counsel for some of your biggest reality shows when it comes to relationships, like all of the like marriage, Love Island kind of stuff. But he said when he first started out, only 3 people were watching his videos. And he was like, man, should I keep doing this? Right? Because it's only 3 people. But one of those people that happened to be watching out of the 3 happened to be Oprah Winfrey. And Oprah Winfrey invited him in, gave him a part of his start in the media industry and field, and he's continued on. And so I want to encourage you to not look at the numbers, because my issue wasn't numbers. My issue was, am I effective? Should I be doing this? Is this really necessary? Because once I know those things, and once I'm clear on those things, it doesn't matter if 3 people are watching, one person is watching, 5,000 is watching. As long as I'm clear on what it is that I'm saying and doing, that it has meaning, that um, I'm supposed to be doing it, I'm where I'm supposed to be, I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue to do it. And so I want to encourage you to not let the numbers get in the way, to not let followers be the thing that decides whether or not you're going to do it. Make sure that you're making that decision based on whether or not it's right for you, whether the timing is right, and whether or not without a shadow of a doubt that that's what you're supposed to be doing. And yesterday for me, I got really clear that yes, you're supposed to continue on. I've been very clear about this podcast. I'm going to continue on until my creator tells me, okay, you've done this assignment well, or you've completed this assignment. So I know I'm very clear about what I'm doing here in this space. But I did have some questions about, should I go back into the blogging world? And When I go back, am I going to continue on? And I think the answer to that is be you, be your authentic self. People also all often talk about how a person has the sauce, right? They say they've got the sauce, or um, they got the goods. You have the sauce. Just remember that. And not only do you have the sauce, or whatever you're called to do, but you also have the recipe. And guess what? You are the main ingredient. So even if somebody comes along and they also make spaghetti, or they also make curry chicken, right? You are the main ingredient to your recipe. People can remix what you're doing. People can be doing something similar to what you're doing, but the recipe is original because it contains you. You are what makes it authentic. You are what makes the recipe the recipe. So be you. Um, I hope that that encourages you today. Now, let's get into set boundaries, find peace. And we're only going to read one of the books today, a Guide to Reclaiming Yourself, Dr. Nedra Glover Tawwab. She is on all platforms. I highly recommend that you follow her. I think she has now started a group, um, a Set Boundaries, Find Peace group. So you could probably look for that and join if you feel compelled. Today, we're going to talk about from the What Are You Doing to Honor Your Boundaries? Keeping your word to yourself. And we've talked a little bit about that even in my own sharing today. Keeping your word to yourself, self sabotage, self betrayal. That's what we're going to talk about today. So let's get into it. Setting limits with yourself is a conscious act that will make your life easier. Rules seem restrictive, but when you create them, you can include nuance. Therefore, having boundaries with yourself is not a restriction. Instead, they help you achieve your goal, build healthy relationships, and live according to your values. When you don't keep your word to yourself, you are engaging in self sabotage, self betrayal, or people pleasing. So, again, remember we started out by talking about not betraying yourself. If you are a person who is kind, if you are a person who is empathetic, if you are a person who tries to build people up, self betrayal for you may look like engaging in negative dialogue with people online. That would be a self betrayal for me. I don't know about anybody else, but getting online, tearing the person down, cursing them out, wishing them dead, doxing them, all this stuff I see people doing online, I couldn't do it. I couldn't, because that would be a self betrayal of my own personal values. So, what does self sabotage look like? Procrastinating, getting close to a goal and then quitting. That's self sabotage. Staying in relationships that are unhealthy, not keeping your word to yourself. People often talk about people not keeping their word to them, but go back and ask yourself, am I keeping my word to myself? And good morning to those of you coming in. Setting unrealistic goals. Here's an unrealistic goal for me. Even though I love to read, I'm going to read 1,000 books by the end of the year. Unrealistic goal. I'm looking at my cart of books right now, and I'm like, September, October, November, December. I got 4 months. How many more books do I think that I can read personally before the end of the year. And if I challenge myself to read two, 1 to 2 books a month until the end of the year, right? Then that means my challenge to myself is to read 4 to 8 books by the end of the year. Then I have to weigh, are these small books? Are these fiction? Are these nonfiction? So we got to set realistic goals with ourselves. Here's another self sabotage, not even trying. You won't know what you can do if you don't try. Now, there are a lot of things that I've tried and I have failed at, but I at least tried. I can say I tried it and I didn't like it, or I tried it and it didn't work for me. So make sure you're actually trying. And the final one here, carrying a negative narrative about yourself and your abilities. As I said before, sometimes it's not what people are saying about you, it's the negative narrative or the negative script you have on yourself that when you talk to other people or you engage other people, you think it's them bringing you the negativity, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is your own negative narrative playing and projecting onto what people are saying to you. I had to learn that. And I had to stop charging other people for the negative narrative that I was carrying about myself in certain areas. Self sabotage is just one way that we dishonor our boundaries with ourselves. It involves engaging in unhealthy behaviors that keep us from what we say we want. Self sabotage first starts in the way that we talk to ourselves. In the United States, where I am, um, we have a lot of people that encourage us, right, to boast sometimes in ourselves. And for some, that is good because their ego or their esteem is so low that they literally have to hype themselves up. And when they do that, sometimes people can mistake them hyping themselves up for arrogance. When sometimes it's not arrogance. Sometimes people have to spend time building themselves up in this world because as a Black person, as an Indigenous person, as a person of color, okay, they might be facing some things in this world that other people are not. So it takes a little bit more to hype themselves up so that they're not starting out on empty. For example, we often talk ourselves out of trying before we even start. Once we start to talk to ourselves negatively, we commit to those negative thoughts as truth. We may say, I can't do this. I'm not capable of accomplishing it. But you are. You are capable of accomplishing more than you even know. The I can't narrative can lead you to procrastination, quitting, setting unrealistic goals, or negative self talk. So in the story you tell yourself, incorporate an I can narrative. Sometimes I add my name in there. I say, Shantae, you can do this today. Shantae, you can get up and do what you need to do. Shantae, I know your body is saying, stay in the bed for a little bit longer. But no, you have places to go, people to see, and things to do. Now, I also say, Shantae, you cannot be staying up all times of the night. I know Paranisha is causing you to fight for your life some nights. If you're one of the women out here dealing with perimenopause, you know what I'm talking about. Hashtag we do not care club. But I have to talk to myself. I have to remove the negative narrative and lean into the narrative that's going to help me to be successful. So don't quit before you start. Here are some examples of what not to say. I'm going to try to stop drinking or smoking or engaging in my vice for the next 30 days. I'm going to try. I'll see how long I can stick to drinking more water. I'll share my boundary, but I'm 100% sure that they're not going to listen to me. In other words, use direct language without ambivalence about what's going to happen. Take away the ambivalence and move to a direct statement. Here are some examples of self boundary setting statements. I am going to quit this vice for 30 days. I'm going to work on me. I can change my habits because I'm capable of change. I can drink more water starting today. It may be a little water cup, but I'm drinking more water. I can drink more water starting today. I am capable of following through. Confidence in your boundaries is the cure for self sabotage. Now let's get to the second one here, self betrayal. Self betrayal, changing who you are and what you believe in order to stay in relationships with others. Now, we're not talking about changing unhelpful beliefs in order to stay in relationship with other people. We're talking about changing the essence of who you are and what you believe in order to stay in relationship with other people. Self-betrayal, pretending to be someone other than who you really are. Self-betrayal, comparing yourself with others, friends, family, strangers on the internet, a past version of yourself. Self-betrayal, failing to consistently maintain your own values. Self-betrayal, making negative statements about yourself to others or in your head. Now, I want to challenge people this week because when we say values, right, I don't think a lot of people know what their values are. I don't think a lot of people have ever taken a values test, but there are some, I believe, online. So when we say values, I want to give you some examples. When we say values, what are your values? And you can look up, you can type in on your search engine personal values test and actually take a free personal values test and find out what your actual values are. Because I think sometimes people think they know them, or maybe they operate in them, but they don't see them as a specific value. So when someone says, you don't hold the same values as I do, ask them what they mean. Ask them to define what those values are. But here are some examples. Compassion. That's a value that people hold. Some people believe in the value of compassion. Other people do not. They do not believe in compassion at all. They believe in life is hard. Oh, well, you'll get over it. There's nothing compassionate about that statement at all. But some people, that is how they live life. That's how they operate. And so if you come to them expecting compassion and you don't find it, and you're consistently coming to that person expecting that compassion and you don't find it, then you need to recognize that compassion is not a core value for them. Here's another one. Accountability. That's a value. Some people hold accountability as an utmost important value in their life. So when you encounter people who are consistently unaccountable for their actions or don't take responsibility for their actions, guess what? Your values don't align. That's what happened. Here's another one. Courage, generosity. Yes, generosity is a value. There are some people who believe that you should be generous, especially if you have a lot. There's some people who say, what's mine is mine and what's yours is mine. That's a different value. They hold a different value. Sometimes we call those people takers, right? There's givers and there's takers. So think about that. Am I around people who hold the generosity as a value system or am I not? It makes a difference. Here's another one: achievement. This is a value that emphasizes personal success through competency. These are the people that are going to say, hey, I'm a high achiever, and they want to be around high achievers. If you are a person that says everything in life doesn't have to be about achievement, everything in life doesn't have to be about winning, everything in life doesn't have to be about personal gain. Sometimes I just want to enjoy being without the need for some kind of competition going on. Guess what? You might clash with the person who holds achievement as a major value. Adventure, gratitude, that's a personal value. Have you ever been around somebody that emphasizes the fact that you should be thankful, you should be grateful? You can almost hear those words anytime you interact with them. They're always talking about how thankful they are or what they're grateful for. And then they encourage you to be thankful and grateful. It's usually, at least you're going to hear them mention it at least once or twice anytime you interact with them. That's probably because they hold gratitude as a personal value. And for them, if you're not thankful enough or grateful enough when you engage with them, that might be a clash of their personal value. Here's some more: integrity. I'm not going to go through all of them. Assertiveness, authenticity. That's a value that I hold tight to. I like authentic people. I do. I don't care if you're weird as long as you're authentic. You can call yourself weird, but I don't see it as weird. I see it as a person being their true self. And if you're your true self, you're not trying to be something else. You're not putting on a face or putting on a front. You're not catfishing us, right? Then I'm all for it. I love authentic people because when I get around you, I don't want to have to be anybody else. Pastor Ben will tell you the person I am talking to you is the same person I am off screen. Why? Because I don't have time to play somebody else unless you're paying me to be an actor. Like, what is going on? So, authenticity is a personal value. Discipline, adaptability. Now, some people confuse discipline with deference. Discipline, the ability to maintain your goals and your habits. Deference, that's when people want you to pay, they want you to pay them tribute and homage as opposed to being just a disciplined person. Adaptability, boldness, curiosity, dependability, leadership, loyalty, respect, beauty, consistency, balance. All of these are what we call values. And again, you can even look up list of core values. So check your own values first. Before you go checking what everybody else's values are, check your own first. Look up a list on core values. Try to pick out your top 10. That these are the things that are non-negotiable when it comes to my life and when it comes to people being involved in my life. And then look around you and ask yourself, is the people that I'm connected to, do they hold these core values? Can I see these core values playing out in how they live their lives? And if I can't see these core values, then I got to ask myself, what am I doing in a group of people who don't hold the values that I hold? What is going on with me? Not necessarily them, because they're going to be themselves, right? What's going on with me that I'm finding myself in places and with people that don't share my core values? That's how we wind up in self betrayal, failing to consistently maintain our values, making negative statements about yourself to others or in your head. With self-betrayal, we dishonor ourselves by failing to live according to our values or failing to show up as an authentic human being. Guilt sets in because we know deep down that we're acting inauthentically. In healthy relationships, it's acceptable for you to be yourself. And finally, people pleasing. It's making others happy at the cost of your own success. It's not just I'm making other people happy. There are people who love to make other people happy, but are you doing it at the expense of yourself? Are they happy and you miserable? And this is consistent. That's people pleasing. It happens because we want to be accepted by others. Those of us who might have been people pleasers assume that others won't like us if we advocate for what we want. Therefore, we pretend to go along in an effort to be accepted. But healthy people appreciate honesty and will not abandon you if you say no, if you hold to a boundary. If you're finding yourself in the midst of people that when you express a boundary, they abandon you, they were never for you. I'm going to say that again. If you are expressing your boundaries and people are abandoning you at the expression of your boundary, they were never for you to begin with. For example, the writer says, Charlotte asked me, is it okay for me to tell people to stop asking me when I'm getting married? Yes, her life isn't an open book. She doesn't have to answer this question that makes her feel uncomfortable. It's okay to create boundaries about what you share with others. For example, you don't have to share any of the following: why you aren't married yet, what your relationship status is, when you're having a baby or when you're not having a baby, if you already have children, when you're having more children, what's next in your life, how you spend your time, how much money you make, how you spend your money, what do you do for a living, what your lifestyle is, what is your weight, what is your weight loss, what is your weight gain. These are not questions that you have to answer, and especially not to people that don't know you. They made no investment in knowing you. And sometimes people come online and they say the most audacious things to strangers. And I'm just wondering, do you not have friends? Because your friends would have told you not to do that. Your friends who share your values, right, would have said, hey, what are you doing online? I notice, I see you running from page to page all across the internet and you're saying crazy and wild stuff. Can you not do that if we're going to remain friends? Because now you're making me look crazy. I'm connected to you. And every time I see your name come up, so and so made a comment on such and such page. Do you know, by the way, do you all know your friends get those kind of notifications? Your friends get notifications about comments you're making in other people's spaces. And I've clicked on some of them and I've gone over to read, and I'm like, man, that was really good. I'm proud of them. Keep up the good work. But then there's been a few that I've said, what in the entire world? I didn't know they felt that way about that topic. All right. So your friends are probably seeing some of the things that are happening online. And they probably have some questions. Finally, you get to decide what you feel comfortable sharing, as well as which people you wish to tell your personal business to. Now, some of us have friends that we all know cannot hold water. You need to start those conversations off with, this is a confidential conversation and I need it to stay that way. Can I trust you to do that? If they say yes, and then they violate that boundary, you know this person can never be trusted again with something confidential. Now, some people have a very um, inquisitive nature about them. And so they may be asking you questions. They're the kind of friend that's always the drill sergeant when it comes to questions. You can start setting boundaries and saying, "Hey, I just want to have a basic conversation. I don't want to necessarily get into what's going on in my life right now. Let's pick a topic and let's talk about that." If you see that they're continually veering over into, "No, but I really want to know what's going on with you," and you've already told them you don't want to talk about it, that is your yellow flag. That's your yellow flag. All right? Because you get to decide how much of your business you want to tell. The writer here says on Instagram, I'm often asked deeply personal questions, and when I don't want to answer them, I have the privilege of ignoring them. If you don't want to answer a question, consider doing this. Respond with a question. That's an interesting question. What prompted you to ask me that? In other words, why do you want to know? Because sometimes people are asking you questions because they're data collecting for other people. I mean, I hate to say that's what it is, but usually that's what it is. They're data collecting for other people. Sometimes people don't want to ask you a question directly, so they'll send someone, maybe a mutual friend, someone that you know, or even a stranger, to ask you what they want to know. So turn the question back on them. If they're asking you about your weight, how much have you lost? How much do you weigh? How much have you gained? Do you want more kids? Change the topic by glossing over the question. Money is always such an interesting topic. What are you watching on Netflix? Just change the topic. Be direct. I don't feel comfortable answering that question. Be direct. Or simply make your boundary clear. I don't like it when people talk to me about weight. I don't like it when people talk to me about children. I don't like it as a perimenopausal woman when someone says to me, when's the child coming? Ma'am, I'm bloated. That's how I answer that. I am very bloated. And then they say, oh, I am so sorry. Yeah. Even if I think someone is pregnant, I'm not going to ask them if they are, especially if they're a stranger and I don't know them, because it could be them being pregnant. It could be them being pregnant and not announcing it yet. There's a lot of things going on there. Or it could simply be a health issue, or they could be bloated. And so now you have introduced something very awkward into a conversation that didn't have to be. Remember, you have a choice about what conversations you are willing to have with others. All right, I'm going to stop there and we're going to chop it up for about 15 minutes. Pastor Ben, I'm going to send you the link here. And hopefully you have that link. All right, talk back to me in the comments here. Tell me what you think about today's topic. Have you found yourself in a place where you have either been struggling to keep your word to yourself, dealing with forms of self sabotage, or self betrayal? Have you decided that you're no longer going to betray yourself in your conversations, in your thought process, in your relationships with others? Let me know in the comments as we are conversing. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good
How are you
morning.
today?
I'm I'm
I'm I'm
fine. How are you?
fine. How are
Good,
you?
good, good. Can you hear me today?
Yes,
Yes,
All right.
yes.
yes.
My
My
Bluetooth
Bluetooth
is
is
working
working
fine and
fine and
all
all
that
that
stuff.
stuff.
Um,
Um,
let me start out
Let
by
me start out
saying
by saying
exactly who
exactly
you
who you
see on
see on
this
this
broadcast.
broadcast.
That's
That's
her.
her. That's
That's
her.
her.
She
She
don't
don't
fake it.
fake it.
She don't
She
try to
don't try to
impress
impress
anybody.
anybody.
What you see
What
is
you
what
see
you
is
get.
what you get.
That's that.
That's that.
And it's the
And
same
it's the
with the
same with the
husband.
husband.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, he's a character though.
he
he
is.
is.
He,
He looks more serious than he is, and I have to tell him that. I'm like, why are you giving these serious looks online? You are a hilarious person in real life, and people don't know that about him until
hmm
they really meet him. But that part about him, I say, you're giving all these serious poses. Yes, you're a businessman, but you are a resident comedian in my household. He keeps me laughing. This is why I'm this is why I have joy on my face because I enjoy my husband. He keeps me laughing and it's just a good time. It's a good time when I'm with him. And it's amazing because a lot of people will say sometimes they'll look at us and they'll be like, "Did y'all just get married?" I'm like, "No. We've been at this for 25 years. We just enjoy each other. Like we are friends and we enjoy each other's company." And so I tell people, if you're thinking about getting married, please make sure you like the person. Please make sure you enjoy their company because it's gonna be rough if you don't. It's not just
hmm
about looks and assets. Make sure you actually like the person that you're getting involved with. But go ahead.
Now, there's
Now,
nothing
there's nothing
wrong
wrong
with
with
you
you
building your
building your
confidence.
confidence.
I'll
Mm-hmm.
put it
I'll
that
put it
way.
that way.
But
But
according to
according to
society, though,
society, though,
when a person
when a
of
person
color
of color
does that,
does that,
when they
when
speak
they
with
speak with
confidence,
confidence,
because they know
because they
who they
know
are
who
and they
they
know
are
their
and they know their
abilities,
abilities,
they're
they're
being,
being,
what do they
what
call
do
it?
they call it?
Uh,
Uh,
Boastful.
Boastful.
Mm-hmm.
See, they're
See, they're
boastful.
boastful.
They're stuck
They're
up.
stuck up.
But when, this is one I
This is
learned
what
the
I
other
learned
day.
the other day.
When a sun
When a
dodger
sun
does
dodger
it,
does it,
it it's
it's
confidence.
confidence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See, so
See, so
people of
people of
color,
color,
we have
we
to do
have
that
to do that
Mm-hmm.
because of things
because of
like
things
that, the
like
double
that, the double
standards.
standards.
Yep.
So we
So
have
we
to,
have to,
and we have
and
to
we have to
encourage each
encourage
other.
each other.
So
So
that's a
that's a
society that we
society
live
that
in.
we live in.
So that's an
So that's an
adjustment that we
adjustment that
must
we
make.
must make.
So,
So,
and even
and
I
even
know it's
I
not
know it's not
theological
theological
Thursday,
Thursday,
but even
but even
David
David
encouraged
encouraged
himself.
himself.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So,
So
yeah,
yeah,
don't look for
don't look
somebody
for
to
somebody
encourage
to
you all the
encourage you all
time.
the time.
Mm-hmm.
Do it
Do it
yourself.
yourself.
Yep.
I'm great at
I'm
what
great
I
at
do.
what I do.
I'm the
Mm-hmm.
I'm the
best at what
best
I
at what
do.
I do.
Even though you
Even
may
though
not
you may
really
not
be
really
there,
be there,
keep telling
keep telling
yourself that,
yourself that,
and you will
and you
get
will
there.
get there.
I'm the best at what I do. I'm growing in my skill.
hmm
I love to say I'm growing in my skill. But yeah, yesterday I was really questioning. It was just one of those days, I was really questioning, is it time for me to write again? And if I did write, did people actually want to read it? Because like I said, there's so many brilliant people out here writing that I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know, Lord. I don't know. You have Dr. Stacy Patton, who I recommend people follow. You have Michael
Mm-hmm.
Harriet, whose book we're reading on Tuesdays now. And they write on a regular, for Substack. And I was like, I don't know if I want to get that detailed in my writing, but I was like, I feel like some of these spaces are so saturated already. Would it even matter if I got on here and started writing? So for me having those internal thoughts and then seeing later in the night that somebody had already answered that thought at 8:30 that morning. I just didn't see it until last night. And it was like that's one of those moments like you couldn't have planned that. That God knew, my
Mm-hmm.
creator knew that I was going to be having this particular thought about myself in the middle of the day, but he had already sent somebody to answer it. And that's why you can't make me doubt him.
Hey,
Hey,
that's what he
that's
do.
what he do.
You can't make me doubt him. I know too much about him, right? Um, so yeah, we have to, like you said, we have to encourage ourselves because I'll never forget. I went to this teaching seminar, and they were talking about, but they were doing it with an example with children that before your child walks out the door, they've got this bag, and these are the bag represents the chips that you put in the bag for the day, and it can be, they're well prepared, they've got their lunch, you've prayed over them, you've encouraged them on their day, etc. And they say when they leave out your house, they might leave out with a bag of chips, and they're talking about like the gambling chips. He had a whole bag of them, and he just kept going by these different stations, and they represented different things. And he said, well, they might get to the bus stop and some kid says something crazy to them. Well, that's a chip gone. Then they get on the bus and the bus driver, they have an issue with the bus driver. That's a couple more chips gone. They get to their first period teacher, and the first period teacher says something negative to them. That's a couple more chips gone. And so by the time they get through their day, what you loaded them up with, they may be low on by the time they get back home. And it was such a good illustration of how we can build ourselves up, and throughout our day people can deplete that. And so when you see somebody who is, like you said, encouraging themselves, hyping themselves up, don't always think it's from the place that they're full.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're having to fill that deficit themselves. They're having to fill their cup. They're having to refill themselves. And, in the context of young people, by the time your young person gets home, they might not have any more chips left. So start there and ask them, how did your day go? How are you feeling? To figure out where they are. Maybe they still got a full bag, and that's great. But a lot of times that is not the case. And so even with us, sometimes the things that we're going through in our day to day, we might come home at the end of the day and we might be overflowing. I felt like yesterday was an overflow for me. I got an opportunity for a new contract, which I'm going to fulfill tonight. Um, and I started the blog. I got a subscriber. And so that was a good day. But every day may not be that. And we have to have grace for ourselves too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And you
And
just
you
said
just
something
said
there.
something there.
We must
We
have
must
grace
have
for
grace for
ourselves too.
ourselves too.
Don't beat
Don't
yourself
beat
up,
yourself up,
Mm-hmm.
even when you
even when you
fail.
fail.
An old
An
person
old
said
person
this
said this
to me
to me
years ago.
years ago.
Nothing
Nothing
fails but a
fails but a
try.
try.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't try it, you
If
fail.
you don't
But
try it, you at the same time,
you don't know
you
if you
don't know if you would have
succeeded or
succeeded
not.
or not.
Mm-hmm. My mother used to say nothing beats a failure but a try. And I was like, what in the world does that mean? But it's literally saying the only thing that can beat failure is you trying.
Mhm.
Mhm.
The only thing that can knock failure off the course, the only thing that can beat failure to the finish line is you trying. It's your effort. So even if I tried, my try actually beats the failure because I actually tried. I didn't fail, I tried. In other
Mhm.
words, in other words, you can never call yourself a failure if you tried.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I can say it didn't work out, but you
Right.
can't call me a failure. A failure means I didn't even try. So if I tried it and it didn't work out, what I got was not a failure, I got a lesson.
Mhm.
Mhm.
What happened there was not a failure, but a refocusing.
You just
You
said
just said
something.
something.
I'm going to
I'm
go
going to
back
go
to
back to
something another
something
old
another
man
old
told
man
me.
told me.
After my
After my
first
first
marriage,
marriage,
this old
this
guy, he was
old
an
guy, he
old
was an
white
old
guy that I
white guy
worked
that I
with.
worked with.
He asked
He
me,
asked
"Did
me,
you
"Did
learn
you learn
anything?"
anything?"
I said,
I
"Yes, I
said,
learned
"Yes,
a
I learned
lot."
a lot."
He said it
He
was
said it was
successful.
successful.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
So that's
basically what you
basically
just
what you
said.
just said.
Mm-hmm.
I
I
learned
learned
something
something
from it,
from it,
so I
so I
gained from
gained
it.
from it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Now
yeah.
in the business world, they would call this failing forward,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
What's the guy? John Maxwell. I think he popularized that term, failing forward.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Because again, they don't see it as failure. Look at how many incompetent, mediocre people we have serving in government right now. Now, all of us is looking on like these people are complete failures. But clearly, they have superior belief in their trying.
Mhm.
Mhm.
They don't see themselves as failures. And that's what I think people need to understand. Like, you're way more competent than what you see happening in our head of our government. And even what's happening now has shown people that you don't have to be competent. They're literally saying you don't have to be competent. You just have to be confident.
Mhm.
Mhm.
One more time. They're showing people you don't have to be competent. You just have to be confident. And you can try. They're also showing people that we just fail and we just break things and hope it works out. And most people do not live their life like that, do they? Most of
Mm-mm.
us do not go around breaking everything in our life and hoping that it works out. But that's exactly how our government is being run. And guess what? We're still here.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So even in their craziness of their example, they've actually encouraged a lot of people to, you know what? If I can watch this open display of incompetence and failure, and these people are still here, let me just go ahead and try. Because these people are boldly going where no one has gone before in their attempts of trying. Because again, failure is not a part of their vocabulary, even though they're breaking stuff, even though we are going to be dealing with the consequences of their breaking stuff. Clearly, failure is not on their mind. And so I need us to at least be, when it comes to our confidence, I need us to at least be as confident as the people who are incompetent, breaking everything and trying.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are confident in their incompetence. And they will boldly get up. And people are like, are we living in the twilight zone? Is this a parallel universe that's happening? Final thoughts, and then I've got to close because I am past time
Okay.
Okay,
Well,
well,
again,
again,
especially as
especially
people
as
of
people of
color
color
and many
and many
women,
women,
we have
we
to
have to
encourage
encourage
ourselves.
ourselves.
Some of us
Some
may
of us
have
may have
people
people
around us
around
that
us that
encourage
encourage
us,
us,
today.
but it's
but it's
about being
about being
encouraged.
encouraged.
Either we
Either
got
we
to
got
do
to
it,
do it,
and
and
especially if we don't
especially if
have
we don't have
anybody else to
anybody else
do
to
it,
do it,
Mm-hmm.
or it won't
it
be
won't be
done.
done.
Pump
Pump
yourself up.
yourself up.
Talk
Talk
yourself up.
yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
You,
You,
Shante, you and I
Shante,
were
you and I
both
were both
athletes.
athletes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure
I'm
you
sure
had
you
your
had
thing
your
that you
thing that you
did,
did,
focusing and
focusing
stuff
and stuff
before
before
a
a
game,
game,
Mm-hmm.
and I
and I
did too.
did too.
To why? To
Why?
get
To get
myself where
myself
I
where I
needed to
needed
be,
to be.
Mm-hmm.
pumping
Pumping
myself up.
myself up.
Mm-hmm.
See,
See,
it's the
it's
same
the
thing
same
in
thing in
life.
life.
And I will say this because this is one of the things I share as I do trainings around testing anxiety. Energy is contagious. Energy is contagious. And I tell teachers and students when you're going through and you're getting ready for a test, you've got to get the right energy around you. Don't go into a scenario where you have built yourself up and then all of a sudden somebody comes up to you with all their anxiousness, all their fears, wondering if they're going to pass because they're transferring all of that energy onto you. And you are going to have to rebuild yourself right before you go into an exam. So I tell people, watch out for the energy vampires that show up when you've got to accomplish something and you've built yourself up and you've stored the energy of victory. Be careful that somebody don't snatch your victory out of your hands. And then they go in with your confidence and they just transferred all of their anxiety, insecurity, and uncertainty onto you.
Hmm.
Energy is real, people. Energy is real. This has been another episode of Daring Dialogues, and I've been your host today, Shantae Charles. I want to thank you all for your time and for your attention. Remember, light is the most daring opposition to darkness. So continue to go out and be what?
Light.
Light.
Light. Be well, and most importantly, be light. Tomorrow we'll be back with a short show. We're starting at 11:30, and I will be reading for probably about 10 minutes, and then we'll go into our conversation and our talk back. Take care, everyone. Be well, and most importantly,